Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Wedcast.
The Wedcast is a live fortnightly show.
So, let's talk weddings.
So the Wedcast, yeah, sorry, Les.
Go on. I was just going to say, sorry before I cut you off, that although I hated that music, I'm quite into it. It feels like, you remember Tales of the Unexpected years ago?
Yeah, I do actually, yeah.
Very like, ding, ding, ding,
Well, the first time you played that, I thought you were joking and I hated it, but now it's stuck in my head.
I know. I think we should just keep it.
Yeah, definitely, let's keep it.
Tales of the Unexpected.
Sorry, so, on our note, so the Wedcast is a fortnightly live wedding show, conversations about everything wedding related. It gives people the opportunity to speak to wedding professionals about a range of wedding issues.
That's right. But what it isn't, it's not QVC.
Definitely
we don't want to be doing any sales or stuff like that going on because we do that enough. And I think this is just quite nice for people just to tune in and just see what the quality of the people and just chat about the services, really. Do you know what I mean?
I think it'd be evident the quality of people just from the conversations, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think it's not an online wedding fair, so we're not going to do any big sales. This is just two mates. I'm going to chat with other mates in the wedding game, just seeing what they got up to and a little bit about what they are, really, you know, and how we can make people's weddings extra special.
Absolutely. So my name's James Hawker, and I'm a magician. So I provide magic at weddings during lull periods and entertainment in general. I spoke more about it on the last episode, but that's just in brief. And you are?
I'm Les Davis. I'm Clicks Photography and Film, wedding photographer and filmmaker. We've spoken a lot about me in the first episode, so I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. But yeah, doing this about 13 years. Love weddings, love photography, love the Wedcast. Is that cheesy?
No, that's cool. I love the Wedcast too. So today we've got, I genuinely feel privileged that he's joining us today, and he'll play it down a little bit, but we've got a magician with us whose name is James Went. He is actually an international magician. He's worked with people like Darren Brown and Dynamo. He doesn't know I'm saying any of this, but he has been flown around the world to do magic. He's been to the Maldives to do an hour and a half magic. He's made CEOs appear on stage in Portugal, and he's done a stint at the famous Magic Castle in Hollywood.
Wow.
He starred in Help My Supply Teacher's Magic, which was a BBC production, and that had a BAFTA.
How much have we paid this guy? You know, there's no budget for the show, do
I know. But he's genuinely, without doubt, and I say this very sincerely, one of the best magicians I know. He's also one of the nicest people. And the most importantly, he is available for you to hire for your wedding. And on that note, let's bring James in.
Hello, James.
Hello.
What do you think of the intro?
I don't know what to say. I sound good. So
I think you are good.
I'm thinking he spent all the money we don't have for this show.
Yeah, you're not doing sales. I'm going to do sales. Then. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Can I just point out you got like a billion guitarists? You sure we haven't got like a guitarist on you? You sure this is a big guy?
Yeah, that's my first love. Guitars.
Me too.
Is it? Oh, cool.
Yeah, I used to do the band thing years ago, you know?
New one. This is my new one. She's a beauty.
Nice. What is it?
It's a Schecter, but it's basically.
Nice.
I mean, this is going to be so uninteresting. You introduce me as a magician, we're going to go straight on the guitar.
No, it's cool.
It's a Schecter Nick Johnson signature. I'm not a huge fan of Nick Johnson. However, what it is it's basically a Stratocaster that's been hot rodded. So it's all the stuff that Fender don't do that this does on a much cheaper level than Sir.
Yeah.
3,000, and that's not. But yeah, so I won't guitar out too much, but yeah.
One more thing. One more thing about music. What your favorite band?
It's too many. I mean,
come on, give me one.
It's what genre though? Because I like a lot, so I'm not dodging the question. It's just genuinely too much. There's too much to say. But I got into music, Guns N' Roses, so I'll go with Guns N' Roses.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we are rockhead then.
Are you a Savage Garden fan?
Oh, love. Oh, I'd take you to the moon and back if you'd be like.
Oh, thank you very much. Do you know, just with that conversation, I love how, Les, you could appreciate what James was saying then, because before we started, James showed me his new guitar, and I went, yeah, it's a lovely green guitar. And that was it. That was my extent of knowledge about guitars and probably music, to be honest.
But I do agree with you.
hence
It's
my
a
Savage
lovely colour
Garden
green.
reference.
Very lovely colour green. Anyway,
So, yeah, so the first questions really was obviously your name and the name of your business is.
Okay, so my name is James Went, and my business is James Went. Which took a
It's
long
perfect.
time. Took me so long to come up with that. But I suppose, I mean, the thing is with it is, I guess, that when you're a performer as such, and you know your job is above doing magic, really, it's more like sort of intermingling with the guests. You are your business,
Right.
so it would be pointless calling myself, you know, South Wales magic, you know, whatever, because at the end of the day, people are hiring me just like they would hire you or another magician. So yeah,
we were talking about this last episode, and I'm like, I would say I'm probably 60% wedding photographer, and the rest I'm an entertainer. I'm a people pleaser. I'm a crowd gatherer. I'm a dress holder. I'm a shoe wiper. I'm a bouquet holder. I'm everything other than a photographer. At least 40% of my day, you know, and it's probably the same for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mean, this is ridiculous, but you mentioned like some of the things that I've done over the last couple of years, and you know, I'm sure that I mean, they're pretty big, right? But then I've been at weddings, I've cleared tables for people because that's just what you do because you're nice, you know.
Yeah.
You can, you know, if you need something to happen, if there's a room turnaround or the bride is stressed,
Exactly.
you know, you just do what it takes. You know, you're being hired to be there. I mean, your service is very much secondary to you, I think. I've heard rumors of, well, I've heard stories, they're not rumors, they actually happen, of like performers turning up. This is magicians now at weddings, turning up at weddings. And I'm going to go with the bride because they're like, dressing room isn't ready, as if like you have a dressing room at a wedding anyway, and like stuff like that. Like, you know, where they turn up early and they go, oh, well, I'm half hour early. Where do I go? You know, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm always there early. I'll always tell the bride, I'll always mention, hi, I'm here, you know, if it's convenient. Obviously, if they're in the middle of the ceremony, you're not going to burst in through the door. But I would say, look, I'm here. I'm going to start in half an hour, just so you know there's nothing to worry about. I'm going to start and I'll come and see you a little bit later. So then, you know, from my end, I put the bride's mind at ease because now she hasn't got to worry about, is that guy actually going to turn up? I've told her exactly when I'm going to start. So you're still maintaining that thing of, you know, I'm being hired to do something professional, therefore I'm not a clown. I'm not going to turn up and just start attacking people as soon as I arrive. You know, if I feel like, you know, if I turn up and, I mean, we're going off the subject drastically now, but like, say, if I turn up to a reception and I'm doing the, I'm doing the photos, say, for example, right, after the ceremony, and only 5 people have come out, I'm probably not going to go and entertain those 5 people straight away because that's weird. You know, that's like there are the only 5 people there, and instantly they've been preyed upon by this, you know, magnificent bald-headed creature with a deck of cards. So I'll just sit back for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and just wait for the place to fill up a little bit. You know, and obviously I should say as well that I wouldn't. That's not me taking 10 minutes off the time I've allotted to be there. That's just me thinking, this room isn't ready for me yet. I'll start when it's slightly more.
I think we talked about this on the last show, really, and that just comes with experience, doesn't it? You know, I think when I first started doing weddings, I felt very much like I wanted to give people, I still do, but I felt like I wanted to give people value for money. Yeah. So I wanted to be, at every minute I was there, I wanted to be seen and to actually, you know, be doing magic for people.
Yeah.
But you do learn that those, you know, that's not the right time, and that you do need to wait for people to come out and that thing. One more thing, really, about your name. I completely agree. Your name is your brand, and you are your service. And I think it's okay with your surname because yours is quite clear, James Went. Like what we were saying last time, mine is James Hawker, and it doesn't. People spell it Walker and all.
What do you think I get? I mean, I would trade surnames in a heartbeat. The amount of weird things I get, or the typical, Jenny's like, oh, where did you go? I mean, I'm 39 now. Imagine.
Right, yeah. No, that never occurred to me. That says something about me.
Oh, there we go. So that's the mark of a true.
I was so going to drop that joke in. I'm just going to cross that off my list.
I mean, I'm sure there are some funny ones out there, and I'm more than happy to take a funny one, but that's just lame. What I would say on the thing about being seen is, yes, I think initially, the mindset, and this is weird because I'm kind of talking about the performer's mindset rather than what a bride or a groom might really care about. So I'm not sure how apt this is, but I would prefer to give somebody 20 minutes of phenomenal magic that they'll remember for the rest of their life, rather than 2.5 hours of me awkwardly talking to their guests and doing some ham-fisted stuff. Now, that's not saying that when I go to a gig, I'm only going to give 20 minutes. The point is that sometimes the impact at which you can deliver your service far outweighs the amount of time that you're actually doing it. I don't know if that kind of...
It makes complete sense. And I actually ask people when they book me now, how many guests are you expecting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, go on.
No, go on. It's just that thing. I mean, that's part of, I'm sure later on you're going to ask me advice for people hiring, and I'm assuming this podcast is mainly magicians because you've got me on you. But I think part of your quality control as a bride or a groom is to listen to the questions that the person giving the service is asking you. So if they're just asking, what date is it? What's the venue? What time do you want me to turn up? Then maybe they're not putting as much thought into what they're able to provide. Whereas if they're asking things like, what kind of reception is it? What part of the day is it? How many guests are you expecting? And the guest's extended family, all this kind of stuff. And that, this is mostly weddings, but sometimes corporate events as well. I think from that you can deduce that the service that you will be getting is a far higher standard because the performer's interest in delivering something that's good.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Very, very true. So what can I ask a question there?
Sorry, yes.
So like obviously I was saying this to James last week and I presume that, well, I shouldn't presume really, but I mean, obviously different magicians got different styles and way they work and stuff at weddings and things. I mean, do you also try and get around, is it like when you go to a wedding, are you like looking around thinking, right, I have to hit all these people? Or are you thinking, do you divide it up into sections and think, right, I'll hit this, and this first? Or corner people to come to you? Or, I mean, how does it work with you guys?
That's a really good question. And I don't think it has an answer, or certainly not a fixed answer, because if there's 100 guests at a wedding, right, what I normally say as part of my booking procedure is I guarantee I will see 100 people in 2 hours. Yeah. And I'm able to do that through experience because I know that with my style and the way weddings move, I can guarantee 100 people, right? But what happens sometimes is because people aren't quite used to hiring a magician and they say, I've got 300 guests. And there's no way you could be, I mean, David Blaine could show up and he's not going to have,
of course. Yeah, that's right.
That's just a matter of there's 300 people and one magician, right? So yes, I certainly say that as part of the booking procedure. I will guarantee 100 people. When I turn up, if they're on tables, that's much easier to manage because they're stationary. So I can say, right, I've done table 1 to 6. I'm gonna grab a glass of water now, and then I've got another 3 tables to go. And I'm happy that I've seen everybody then. Where it gets difficult is in cocktail receptions and things and drinks and after doing photos and all that kind of stuff because people don't stand still. So what that means is yes, I would like to think I'm able to get around everybody, but if person A, if the mother of the bride or whatever started off talking to the uncles and aunties and then later on I approach a group and now she's with like some other people, then technically I'm seeing that person twice with any one of the 100 people in the weddings. So there are occasions where like a handful of people slip through the net, if they're out having a cigarette when you're performing and they missed the time that you did their group or whatever. But generally, I like to put it on 100 people in 2 hours, I guarantee. And all that as well. What I will say is, I don't know if, again, with people listening to this, maybe that doesn't sound like a lot, but it reverts back to an earlier point that I made, where I would prefer to make sure that the time I spend with those people is of a good quality. So it's better to spend 2 hours with people than, see 300 people in that time, because it would literally be, hi, my name's James, pick a card, here is, thanks very much, I got to move on because there's other people to see. Whereas I think, like, certainly in what we do, it's all about, I don't want to say banter, because that makes it sound, the term banter makes it sound cheap, but it's all about the interaction you have with your guests. Okay, so
that's exactly what I was going to say. It's about interaction, isn't it, I guess?
It's all about that. If I approach a group of people, the first thing I'm interested in is, are they going to like me? Are these people going to enjoy spending time with me, regardless of any magic I do? Yeah. And I take the magic I do really seriously, and I'd like to think I've hit a level with it where it's good. Certainly, through trial and error and honing these things, I think it's good. But what's more important is, after I leave, I would much prefer them to say, "What a great guy! What a cool guy! I'd love to spend more time with him."
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. I think your magic is very good, for the record. But I do think that the intention for me is always, I'm going to try and see everyone. And nearly always, I mean, it doesn't, you are right. There's always going to be a few people that slip through the net. But because I've asked the questions at the beginning, I know how many guests are there.
Yeah.
I know the style of the wedding. And I've done performed at Indian weddings and different types of weddings where people haven't got a fixed seating space. It's really, really difficult to see people.
Yeah, I bet.
So if people do want me to perform for a bigger group in a slightly shorter time, I make sure I manage those expectations and say, look, I cannot get around 500 people in 45 minutes. Because there's just no point.
I mean, it's a double-edged sword, really, that. And I totally agree with you 100%. Everything that you just brought up there, I agree with. However, I think from a booker's perspective, if you say, oh, well, I can't do that many people in this time, I think they're forgiven for thinking, oh, well, I've got 250 guests and I want to make sure that everybody sees something, so I'm not going to hire that guy. However, what I would say is, I would be more inclined to hire you because of the transparency in what you said.
Yeah, cool.
If you openly say to someone, yeah, look, you've got 250 guests, I'm more than happy to come and perform. However, in that time period, I can only guarantee 100 of them. It might be more, but I can only guarantee 100 if I'm going to provide the service that you're hiring me for. I think as a booker, that's much more honourable than say, yeah, no problem, just give me the money, and then just
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. So I'll ask the next question. What service do you provide the weddings, James?
What service do I provide?
Yeah, what service do you provide?
It's like a sales pitch now.
But it's important, I think, because I think even me and you will vary in how we think about it, and it's important for people watching. So,
I like to think that I provide moments of astonishment in lull periods during your day that will help your event be a bigger success. And that doesn't necessarily just mean weddings. It just means that in any event, whether it's a wedding or a corporate or whatever, there are naturally going to be lull periods where people, especially after wedding breakfast, people they got a full stomach. We've been getting about to arrive. There's a natural lull period there. So what I do is I come in and I basically invigorate those moments by adding excitement. And I do that through the vehicle of magic. But again, as we've said, it doesn't, the magic is very much the vehicle. What's more important is I'm there and, people are enjoying their time with me.
And I think that's a moment where in all weddings, and I mean, we between us, we've shot loads of weddings, but there's a moment where, after when the room is getting turned around after the wedding breakfast, etc., that moment where you keep people's moods to a certain level, because things can drop, and we've all been at weddings where we're not working, we're there as guests, and it's that moment where we spoke about, which is gosh, what do we do now?
Yeah,
there's that moment where there's nothing going on, you're thinking, right, do I sit down, do I go in there, do I go in this room? But I think, and this is where I think it's really super important that, and not just magicians. I'm not saying you should have magicians, but you guys fill that void where everybody's a little bit bored?
I mean, just look at the time of it, right? Say the wedding's at 11 o'clock. Yeah, I mean, we've all been to weddings where the ceremony is 11 o'clock, right? Assuming it's not a big religious ceremony, it's only going to be 20 minutes, half an hour max, right? Yeah. So you've got 20 minutes at 11 o'clock, then 2 hours of photographs, then you'll have lunch. That's a couple of hours. And then, by the time you finish lunch, you're in kind of mid-afternoon, early evening kind of thing. It's a long day where, for the groom, it's a bit of a whirlwind, but for some of the guests, it's a long day. Where, there are dull periods, huge ones.
I've definitely been at weddings where, to put it bluntly, I've been bored. Obviously I'm not going to name them, but just where you just like, the wedding photographs are taken for ages. You're really hungry. You just want to, get on with the rest of the day, and that's where I think couples should be thinking about what's happening for the guests, not just what they will be doing. I think it's really important.
I went to one a couple of years ago. It was a friend of my wife's, so I can say because they're not my friends. But they've obviously spent like a lot of money on this wedding, and there's this huge manor house in the middle of the countryside. And it was exactly that. I mean, they did the ceremony in a church elsewhere, then everybody went back to this manor house. And it was gorgeous. It was around Christmas time, so like imagine it's this big place, they got a log fire, the Christmas tree is up, it's lush, they're serving mulled wine as drinks. But I was in this room for 2.5 hours and nothing happened. And it was hot and I was drinking and I just wanted to go to sleep. Like this, this is when the photos are going on.
And it does get like that. It really does. It's no different to any other guest at that wedding,
But what's frustrating for me is I was there going, why haven't they got something now? They should have something. Like, even if it's just somebody playing music in a corner, there should be something happening here. And there wasn't. And I think as a bride or a groom, I say bride because let's be honest, I mean, it's probably the bride's making the decisions. I don't think that's a sexist comment. I think that's,
well, it wasn't my wedding. I just turned up more or less.
Yeah, can I just make a total different thing there? I planned my wedding.
Did you?
Well, no. Let's take that back before my wife watches this. And then slaughters me. I think because of the wedding, I was a bit of a groomzilla.
Oh, really?
Because I've been to so many weddings, and I knew, well, in my head, I knew what would work, what wouldn't work. So when my wife Kate was like, "Well, we're gonna have this," I was going, "No, we're not. That don't work. I've seen that. That doesn't all work. People don't engage with it. We're not having it. Blah 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 blah." But so I'm the one. Not many of us, but I was a groomzilla.
Yeah, I mean, I all I had to organise was the magician and the band. That's it. That's all I did.
And you did a good job. You did a good job.
I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Who do you have?
As a magician,
it wasn't me.
I know it wasn't James. I couldn't afford him. That's what it was.
Yeah,
I had is it name drop Clang. I had 3-time Magic Circle close-up Magician of the Year Michael Vincent to do mine.
Nice.
That's the thing. I mean, you know the same. Like when you got married, you have as a photographer, you've got to get someone good because
I had two.
Your job. Then you should get the best of whoever's available. Right? So I made sure I had a good band and a good magician.
I had one of the best that was available at my wedding. James Hawker Magic.
Yeah, you did actually. Les, yeah.
You forgot that, haven't you?
I've booked James for gigs. I booked James for my cousin's wedding.
Yeah, he did. In fairness.
Yeah, he did a good job, Pip.
Yeah, no, he's good.
We'll just end at this point now, and I'm just cutting all this and putting it on my website.
What I would say is, and this isn't me, I mean, with just in the face of transparency and everything, we are friends, regardless of, podcasts and magic and stuff. We just know we're friends, right? But what I would say is the one thing that you have that a lot of performers maybe don't is that ability that I was talking about earlier. You can just go over and talk to a group of people and you're great, regardless of any magic, which is also very good, I should say. You're just a nice person to be around, which is why when I get asked, to recommend a magician, I always say you, because I know you will turn up and do a good job.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, we take it very seriously.
When you're recommending someone, you got to have that confidence in them, because if you're recommending them, and it could come back on you. So yeah, that's quite a big accolade there.
Yeah, I think that's part and parcel of the gig industry anyway, regardless if it's photographers or musicians or magicians or anybody. If you're being vouched for, then you've got to do a good job.
That's
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Is the magic scene like the photography scene? Because in South Wales, I mean, I can only speak for like South Wales, but like the photography scene is quite close knit. Considering we're all competition, everybody, if you're a different photographer, you're my competition. But we are really close as a. Okay, should we stop talking about this?
No.
I don't know, man. Do you want to punt that first?
Yeah, I'll have a punter first. I think that there are some people who've been into magic for quite a long time, and those people seem to get on with each other for the most part quite well, or there's kind of a mutual respect between people. And then there's other people, and there will be this with photographers, that people maybe we feel kind of do the service a disservice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if that's quite a diplomatic way of putting it. It's not very well explained. I don't know if you'd add anything, James.
I would maybe add that because it's a very niche thing, isn't it? Magic. It's kind of, there aren't many people doing it. It's not like wedding photographers. I mean, wow, there's loads, right? But magic is certainly less than that. So as a result, everybody knows everybody. There's no avoiding that. Just if somebody is performing, you probably know who they are. But I would certainly echo the sentiments of James that just because someone is offering a professional service doesn't make them a professional. And the other thing with magic, and I think this is purely magic, and we talked about this before we started recording, so I don't know if you want to save this or not, but it's the fact that most people, I mean the general public, aren't really familiar with magic in the same way that they would be with photography or bands or cakes or things like that. Because do you want me to talk about this now? You know what I'm going to say.
Yeah. I think we can talk about it now.
By the time you are getting married, of the age to be married, I would probably put you mid-20s to maybe mid-30s generally, and that's not assuming second marriages and things like that, but generally you're at that age, right? By that point, you have seen numerous musicians and you've heard numerous music. You've seen millions of photographs, right? So you're in a good position to decide what is good and what's bad. Yeah, you've eaten cake. You know what it's like to eat a cake that's not very good. Whereas I think in that same period of time, like people might not have seen magic, certainly not live. Like I know James would agree with me on this. I've done numerous weddings with, one of the common things is, you see people do it on TV and you don't think it's real, and then people do it in front of you, and I've never seen it live before, and this is so much better. So some people have never seen it before, and because of that, I think people are less able to make informed judgments on exactly what is good and what's bad. And I'm being very careful with my words here because I don't want to be too controversial. I don't want it to appear negative. I'm just saying as a fact, if you haven't seen a lot of magic live, you don't really know what's good and what's bad. And further on from that is the fact that magic, you can fake being a magician pretty easily. I mean, if you get 100 quid together and go online and buy some tricks, if people don't know what the method is, which they won't because they're not magicians, then you've successfully performed a magic trick. But as we said earlier, what me and James do, and the good guys around, of which there are many, is we give you the interaction and the quality of the experience that we've had through years of performing, rather than just I bought 6 tricks on Amazon and I'm going to do those, and as long as people don't know how it works, then I'm doing a good job as a magician.
Yeah. So talking about tricks, how many tricks does a magician hold? I mean, how many tricks would you say you could do? I mean, is that such a thing, or is it just like too many? Or
I'll go first, and I probably do about 15 to 20, not at the gig, just in general. Ones that I would do all the time that I'd feel really comfortable kind of doing.
Yeah.
I know. What would you say, James? I would. So my guess was, because if I'd ever say to you, I know it's different to you showing me something to showing something at a wedding, but you've got seems to me like infinite amount of magic tricks or magical effects.
Um,
It does. At least it appears like that. So
well,
either way,
I'm a huge nerd. I mean, the people listening to this won't see what you can see, but all that behind me, there's like bookshelves, bookcases. That's all magic. That's all magic books, of which I've digested over the years. So I would say it's a double barrel question. At a wedding, if I'm being employed to perform, my standard set is about 10 tricks. Doesn't sound like much. Yeah. But they are 10 tricks that I've developed over a number of years and hundreds, in some cases, thousands of performances that I've got them to the level where I know every single beat and every line. I know what happens if this person says something or if this person doesn't do what I expect them to. I know them inside out. So that is my performing repertoire. However, because I am the way that I am and I'm a bit of a nerd, if me and James met up, I could go for hours. Like, and I'm not saying that to brag, but I could just keep going because he might sort of bring up a subject or a particular area of magic that I might have read something in, and I'll show him like 10 different variations of doing the same trick, or what this person thought was good against what this person thought was good, or I think that's fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's fair, and I think there's another distinction though in that you do a lot of stuff for other magicians, don't you?
Yeah.
So you've got, I didn't mention in the intro, but you've got some DVDs that other magicians buy. You travel around and do some lectures, teaching magicians. I think I come to your first ever kind of workshop, didn't I? It was about
and I think
years ago, something like that. So the stuff I do, I only do for people who are non-magicians.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You've got tech, you do it both, don't you? And probably a lot.
Well,
different times.
The thing is, we're just talking about weddings here, so I don't know how much interest this will be for people who are listening, but my sort of magic career, I guess, if you want to call it that, although to call magic a career is just really stupid. Like, it's literally doing tricks for money. It's crazy. But it's certainly multifaceted. So I don't just perform. I do. And sometimes that performance is for weddings, as we're talking about here. Sometimes it's for corporate. Sometimes it's for corporate where they want something specific that I will design. I invent tricks for other magicians. I work on other magicians' acts. So sometimes, like if somebody's got a TV spot coming up or they've got a theatre show, they will hire me and I will help them create or improve the magic they already have. I also have stuff out for magicians. So there's like DVDs and books that I've of tricks that and not always tricks that I would generally perform, but there's tricks in which there's something interesting about the method without going too much into sort of magic stuff. I've come up with that I think will be of interest. So yeah, without being insufferable and talking about myself for the next 30 minutes, I have lots of different ways of getting financial aid through magic and performing.
That's just really interesting, and I suppose it shows that you're probably pretty well respected or in the industry, because you go to people, if you've been running workshops and things and people turn up to them, that's a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah, so over the last couple of years, just as we're talking about it, I did a full-on UK lecture tour where I traveled around different magic clubs all over the country and did a 2-hour sort of clinic, a seminar lecture on material I've come up with and thoughts on scripting and things like that.
You did that at the Magic Circle as well, didn't you?
I have lectured at the Magic Circle, yeah. So I was hired by the Magic Circle to go in and lecture to their magicians, which was very daunting. I did I went to Belgium to do one, which was bizarre. I got hired to go out to Belgium, so I flew out there and performed for 150 Belgian magicians, which was really weird because Belgium, just as a side note, that was odd because the audience, some of them speak German, some of them speak English, some of them speak French, and some of them speak Flemish. So, as an English speaker, when that is everybody's second language at best, that was a challenge. I've done various bits. Like I was going to mention something else as well, but yeah, so it's nice. It's nice to be. It's a really weird thing because the dangerous thing with all this, and when you are a performer, ego is a very dangerous thing. So I'm very conscious of whatever I do and whatever I achieve, I try not to brag about it too much. Oh, God, this is so insufferable because
I knew you'd struggle with it, which is why I said it all at the beginning.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, I mean, all that stuff. What I would say is, without singing my own praises, I think all of that stuff feeds into the fact that when I deliver something for you at your wedding, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to be of a high standard. I'll leave it there.
That's right. But I mean, it's not even like it's difficult because like being a photographer. Well, before I was a photographer, I was in a band, so I used to do weddings in bands and stuff, and I used to sing in a band. And you've got this being a front man, you've got to have an ego when you're doing it. And it's the same with photography. I think it's the same with magicians, with performers, right? But we got a tool. I've got a camera. You've got your cards and whatever other tricks and other little things you're using. And with band, you are using your microphone, you're performing to people. We're all performers. And I think it's good to have an ego when you're doing it. But once you stop, then you're back to normal. I think a lot of people sort of like still like do this to try and get fame from it, but not on a national level. I see a lot of people sort of like believing they're famous in some way. But I'm getting paid for service. So when I'm at the wedding, I may have an ego. I don't know if it's an ego, but I'm controlling that wedding because I need to deliver my service.
I mean,
and I don't want it to come across arrogant. But it's a fine line, isn't it? It's a fine line.
It's a fine line. But the other thing is, I mean, you have to have. Everybody needs an ego at some point, because if you didn't, you just crawl up in a ball in a corner and you'd be totally vulnerable, right? So an ego is a shield against the outside. Oh God, this is turning into a psychology thing, right? So yes, I mean, ego is healthy, but I think it's something you need to be aware of, especially when you are performing. What I would say is this, right? For all me being sort of coy and sort of, trying to avoid talking about something that you want to know about, when I perform, I'm bulletproof. You put me in front of an audience, and that's not being arrogant. That's just I've done this a lot. I'm being paid to do this. You can throw anything you want at me, and I won't budge. And you get it all the time, especially with us. With what we do, you get people going, "Oh, I don't want to put the card in there. I want to put the card in there. Bring it on." Because I've done it at a high enough level with people who I really respect. And if I can sort of hold my own with them, then I'm not too worried about what you could throw at me in a wedding. Yeah. What was I going to say? Something else on the ego thing. Oh, this is the thing. Where ego gets dangerous. Have you heard of something called the Dunning-Kruger effect?
No.
Okay. So the Dunning-Kruger effect is this, okay? The less exposed you are to something, the bigger your ego can be. And the more exposed you are to something, you realize that there's far more of that thing out there than other people are aware of, and therefore you can't get an ego about it, right? So put it like this, right? Say if I was a 14-year-old learning tricks on YouTube, right? I'm not. I'm almost 40, but let's just say I was. I learn the tricks on YouTube. I'm the only person I know who does magic. I go into school the next day. I show those tricks to people, and they're blown away. When I come home, I have an ego. I'm like, I just nailed that. Sure. Those guys saw those tricks and I was the best, right? Yeah. And that will satisfy you for a few years. Then maybe when you're 16, you join a magic club. Now, all of a sudden, there are people at the magic club in your local area who've been doing it a bit longer, and they're better than you. So instantly, you get a bit of a kick in the bum. Right. And you realize, oh, actually, I'm not that great. But then you get to the point where you're the best person in the club. So then you're like, well, I'm the best in the area. I mean, what else is there to do? And then you go to like the Magic Circle in London, and then you realize, oh my God, there's actually loads of people, and it's just a constant evolving loop of that, where it doesn't matter how good you are at something, there's always going to be someone else better. I mean, this is the other thing is, in any creative pursuit, I don't think better is really a objective term. It's, it's very much subjective. There's no such thing as better. But like, I've been playing guitar for 30 years now as a sidetrack, right? I've done it a lot. I've done gigs, I've done all that stuff. I still take lessons every now and again. I teach guitar, but I also take lessons because I still realize that in all of that experience, I've still got more to learn.
That's right.
I think it's the same with all things.
And I guess I think it's the same with all creative industries or businesses that are like skills that you learn. You forget so much. I mean, recently I've been doing tutorials of photography. and I'm thinking, what am I going to teach these people? And I forget what the very basics are of photography. It's all locked up here.
Yeah.
So I literally go, look at the light, look at whatever's going on, look at the shadows, bump, 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 and I'm there.
Yeah.
When I'm trying to explain it, I'm thinking, how do I do that now? And it's like if I've got to go back and relearn all them little skills that I've learned years and years and years ago. And
so you're kind of on autopilot, don't you? Yeah, at that point. Because you
autopilot.
And I think
in there, but I can't.
Certainly the same for me. You know, when I start performing magic, it's like flicking a switch. It just it's like 2 hours later, and I don't realize it's just done. It's just done. Yeah.
I mean, I've always found teaching, whether it be magic, like in the lectures that I mentioned earlier, or guitar, I find teaching a really useful tool in self-improvement, because just as you said, by having to analyze the things that you do naturally and then regurgitate that information in a way that somebody else can understand, it makes you really think about what you're doing, which gives you a deeper understanding and a deeper knowledge of, what you are as a performer, regardless of the field. So I love teaching for that reason.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I quite enjoy it.
So
okay, I got
go on, Les.
No, I was just going to ask, would you have any sort of like at the weddings? I mean, you've probably shot lots. Sorry, I keep thinking photography terms. You've performed at so many weddings. Anything like funny's happened, or something's gone wrong, or something?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I try not to think about it.
You can talk about, you know.
I'm trying to think of a funny instance.
Ever turned up the wrong gig?
No, I've never had that. I did a wedding once, and I'm instantly deflecting this away from me. I did a wedding once where the bride and the groom had a fight on the top table when I was mid-trick. Nothing to do with me, and they will remain nameless, but I don't think the groom was a particularly nice gentleman, and he was just really being quite rude to his new wife, and that escalated, and then the brother-in-laws started getting involved. So it wasn't a full-on brawl, but there were some very stern words happening, and I'm just stood there with the deck of cards going, kind of finished the trick, like, what do I do? So I think I just quietly edged away from the table and went
a little bit. They always say, everybody says that weddings are like notorious for fights. Now, I've been doing this about 13 years. I've never had a fight yet.
No, I haven't had a fight.
Never had a fight at a wedding yet. So
I've had lots of other things, but no fights.
The band that I play with occasionally, because I mean, we've mentioned a few times about the guitars and stuff. I play in a wedding band infrequently, but I still play. I wasn't on the gig, but they said that they did a wedding that turned into like a full-on cowboy brawl where like the entire just erupted. And they said the best bit was these two guys were fighting, and one of them fell into the speaker stands, and the speaker stand started to fall over, but they both stopped fighting, grabbed the speaker stand, put it back up, give the band a thumbs up, and then carried on fighting, which is just like I've never personally seen a fight in a wedding, apart from that argument, but it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Funny things, I mean, the thing is with magic, and is stuff goes wrong. I mean, any performer who tells me, oh, no, you know, nothing ever goes wrong.
My next question. I mean, when you're doing performing for the both of you, I mean, what about when things go wrong? Because it will. I mean, you know, we're only human. Some things will happen sometimes, or, you know, I mean, what do you do? You know, what happens there?
So, for me, I don't know how much I should be revealing of this, but things often go wrong. But because people haven't seen that effect before, they don't know how it's going to end. So you just change the ending. That's quite a simplistic way of doing it.
I think that's powerful, is knowing that the audience don't know what's going to happen. Especially like I was saying earlier, you know, some people can say something at the wrong moment and it might try and rock you a little bit. Or they might say something that they think is going to rock you and actually ends up improving the trick, which is amazing when that happens.
I think, not to bring it down a level, but one of the things that, you know, almost every single wedding, people will say, can you make either my wife or husband disappear, or can you make a man's bits bigger? And that's the things we get asked a lot, and we've got like stock responses now to those of me, because it's thousands of times.
it happens so regular that you don't even register anymore. You just throw out the line and then just leave it.
I think answering that question last week, the thing that I always find funny is when very occasionally when you go up to somebody and introduce yourself and ask them would they like to see magic, and they just say no, not today. Yeah. And it's very rare, but it still tickles me. And it used to really affect me at the beginning, but now it tickles me. So
yeah, but then the other thing, and like think about funny thing, not really funny things, but a thing that happened once at a wedding, is you don't know what's happening in other people's lives, so you can't take, you can never take that stuff personally, because it might be that, you know, I mean, without bringing it down too much, this might be, you know, this might be the first wedding, first family function they've attended since somebody that they were close to passed away, so it might be like a big day for them, and more than just in terms of the wedding. So their reaction to you isn't necessarily personal. I mean, I had it where I walked up to, there were two girls, and I don't know, like this was years ago, and maybe I was a bit more inexperienced then, but there was these two girls, and I was in full flight, and maybe I didn't pick up on the signs right, but I went over and just said, "Hey, how's it going? You know, yeah, pick a card. This is going to be great." And one of them just burst into tears, like just burst into tears instantly. Again, just left this awkwardly holding playing cards, feeling like the biggest douchebag in the universe. But, you know, I mean, it's obvious. I mean, I'd like to think that I wasn't just being in the presence.
It wasn't you.
It happened.
Yeah. If that was you, and you do happen to be watching this, and you are getting married, you can get in touch. That would be amazing.
That's the thing, you know, people are complex human beings, aren't they? And, you know, sometimes a big event such as a wedding brings out the best and the worst in someone, hence the fights. And, you know, it's an emotional field day.
I said something very similar last week. The next question, what tips would you give somebody if you want to get like some, because we've talked quite a lot in depth about things today on me, but if you were going to give people tips, you know, if you're going to hire a magician, so for anybody watching this, what would be your kind of top tips?
So, I mean, in the world of the internet, definitely check the website. That I think that would be number one, wouldn't it? Oh, we lost somebody. We lost.
I think we've lost Les at the moment.
Carry on.
He's still there. Okay. Definitely check the website. Number one. All right. Have a look at the website. Have a look at the photos of the magician. Yeah. What you should see is you should see some good reaction photos from events at the wedding the magician has performed at, and also the magician themselves. I mean, you know, you look at them and you think, is this the kind of person I want to introduce to my family? You know, and by that, you know, are they smartly dressed? Do they appear to be relatively sane? You know, and the people in the photos have a good time.
And that's a serious consideration with magicians, isn't it?
That's the other thing I would say is, I guess, as tip 2, is I would, if there are pictures on there of performers at weddings, align yourself to the wedding in the photo and ask yourself, is that what I want my wedding to look like? Yeah. So if the people in the photograph seem like people that you would have in your own social circle, then you could pretty much say that, all right, judging by that photograph, I think this guy would be good for my friends. Whereas if, you know, oh God, how do you say this without being rude? If it looks a little bit rough, maybe, or the people, you know, you wouldn't align yourself socially with those people. You know, maybe it's the other extreme. Maybe they're just like aristocrats and all really posh, and you think, oh God, that's a bit stuck up for what I want. You know, I think that's a good barometer of how that performer is going to function at your wedding. The other thing I'd say is check quotes. Normally, magicians have quotes from people that they perform to, whether that be, you know, in some cases celebrity, in some cases it's just, you know, other brides. But if there are regular buzzwords coming up, like I would go with that. I'd also say check it, because I know that some magicians might make up quotes and put them on their website that aren't real, because that's easy.
I think for me, just because sorry, James, to interject, the award-winning thing is commonly overused by magicians.
And celebrity magicians. I know a magician who has photographs on his website of him with people he's met at Comic-Con, and he's like put him on his performing website as if he's performing for celebrities, when it's quite obviously it's a shot that's been taken where he's queued up and paid to have a photo with somebody. So I'd say, you know, there's all kinds of sneaky little dirty tricks you can do like that. But yeah, no, I absolutely
just do some research beforehand and
speak to people, isn't it? I think that's the main thing. It's like the other one I would add.
Yeah, speak to the magician. Give me a ring. You know, give James a ring. You know, I'll happily talk to you. And you know, if by the end of the conversation you don't feel I'm right for your event, that's fine, perfectly fine. But at least you did your own work. But yeah, I'd certainly say that. But I think the main thing is check the website, check if this. My barometer for a good magician now, having done magic for a long time and met some of the best performers in the world and worked with some of the best performers in the world. My one sort of thing above anything else that I think when I see a magician perform is this person the kind of person that I would introduce to my family? That's number one. And
Yeah.
That's a nice way. I've never thought of it like that.
well, because that's what you're doing effectively. You're hiring someone to come and spend time with your family and friends. So if they're a bit of a creep, then you're not going to want them to do that. And James can vouch for this. Some of the best magicians in the world aren't necessarily the kind of people you would want around your family.
No, agreed. Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess it's quite nice that when I come from or finish a wedding and you speak to the bride a couple of days after, etc., or they send an email saying thank you, you were great. It's nice to hear when they say, my guests and my family thought you were brilliant.
Yeah. The big one is the bride. I mean, if the mother
but it's just nice to have a bit of feedback to say people thought you were a nice guy, and that goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like anything else, that's just the same in life, though, isn't it? If somebody says, "Oh, you like him, he's a good guy," then it goes a long way.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that was all of the questions, Les. I don't think we got any more, have we?
No, I think so. I think that's
good. You stuck it out
enough.
No, I greatly appreciate you coming on and taking the time. I think we're going to briefly talk about our favorite 3 wedding venues in South Wales. I don't know if you want to stay on for that, or if you don't, you've got other things to do. It's completely up to you.
I can give you the and then I can shoot off.
Yeah, okay.
Peterstone Court, Bracken, love that place. Really love that place. Yeah. I've always had a really good time at the Celtic Manor. I'm aware that's a pretty, it's a very safe one that everybody knows, but I've always enjoyed performing there. And Buckland Hall, I really used to like. Apparently, that's closed down.
Closed down. Never. Yeah. I've only been there twice, and I was really impressed with it. And
food was incredible.
And it's completely vegan, wasn't it?
All vegan. Yeah. But do you know what? I didn't exactly the same face, James. I thought, because I don't feel like I've had food unless I've had some sort of meat with it, right? I know it's, anyway.
Yeah.
But so I was going there thinking, this is going to be really bad food. Good gosh, it was the best curry I have ever tasted.
Stunning venue.
Incredible.
Yeah, stunning venue.
What has happened to Buckland Hall? Because we definitely need a petition to bring that back.
I think it's beyond that. I believe.
Never.
Yeah, I believe it's ceased to exist, and I wouldn't be surprised if they open it up as apartments or something like that. They convert it or repurpose it in some way, shape, or form.
It's a really beautiful place as well, location-wise as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Really nice. So I need to. So as the BAFTA-winning international sort of magician, now I need to go to Asda's and buy some bread.
Thank you so much, James. I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, so nice to meet you, man. Thank you so much for your time. Everybody go and check out his website at the bottom. This guy is absolutely amazing by the sound of it. So please go and check him out for your weddings.
Okay, stay safe.
Take care. Bye.
Okay.
I enjoyed that. He's a lovely
nice guy.
Yeah, he's a lovely, lovely guy. And just for people who are watching now, and he's very, very knowledgeable. And he's a very good magician. He's a really nice person, and I mean, I'm sure that was evident through everything he said. In terms of the top 3 venues, Les, do you want to do one, and then I'll do one now?
Yeah, if you want to. Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to start with my first one, and these wedding venues are for different reasons. They're not in chronological order or anything. They're just for different things, and there's different things that I like about them. But the first one for me is probably the Coed y Musto in Bridgend.
Nice.
The Coed y Musto. I'm from Bridgend, so maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I really love its location. I think it's quite beautiful there. It's like an old style venue. It's a hotel as well, and crucially, it's quite close to the M4. So it's nice for me to be able to get there, and just for guests in general traveling it. And the team down there is really, pardon?
Lovely food as well.
Lovely food, and the team down there just make me feel really welcome when I'm there. I know Nick. Shout out to Nick, who's the wedding coordinator, and it was Joe, and Joe's recently left. And yeah, they do a really, really good job. So I thoroughly love that venue. So yeah, what about you, Les?
So, oh God, I've been thinking so much about this, and I thought about it too much, really. But then I thought, there's so many wedding venues in South Wales that I've been to. Not even South Wales. There's so many different venues that I've been to. There's so many different reasons, etc. But I think these are probably for so many different reasons, and they're probably some of the ones I've shot at the longest, maybe. So that's why I'm going with these. So first one for me is Lechman Hall. Now,
I love that.
Lechman Hall, I love the place, right? My social media is always sharing this stuff and things like that. I love the Lechman Hall. Now, for loads of different reasons, I remember going there when I was a kid. So that place had been open for so long, because I'm getting on a bit. So I remember going there as a kid. So I got my childhood experiences there. We'd go up there, and me and my friends would play around in the grounds and the games room, which is the Nelson Suite. Used to be like a games room. So we used to play in there on the bandits and pool tables and stuff like that. So I've been going there since I was like about 8 years of age. You know what I mean? And then obviously moving on to shooting weddings there. The weddings are always run really well. Staff are really nice, helpful. Sorry. The wedding team is awesome there. The food is always wonderful. Always run really well. And I like a venue that you can stay at. Some venues, maybe they just don't have enough grounds or anything. You can take some nice photographs and stuff in, but it's all in compact there. You can literally use the country lanes and stuff, which are lovely. The grounds are lovely there. You can use inside because it's just recently been refurbished and stuff like that. They've got a new jailhouse opening. It's just going to be incredible. The development going on there right now is second to none. Yeah. It is literally my favorite venue right now. You know, it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, Lechman Hall for me is absolutely wonderful. I love working there. Really easy for photography.
The other thing you missed is the view from Lechman is beautiful, isn't it?
Standing up on the hills, absolutely amazing. Oh, and I also forgot, I've got to mention this. I got married there, so I didn't want to forget that because the wife would kill me again. My wedding was there, and they done a perfect job, to be honest. Really nice.
Oh, that's awesome. My second wedding venue is the Courses, which is near Cardiff. What I like about the Courses, again, you can stay there. The main thing I like about the Courses, I mean, they do things very well there as well. I mean, it's a beautiful venue. It is good service. The food is really good, but I like the exclusivity of it. And by that, I mean that, you know, your wedding party will be the only guests there. And for me, that's really, really important. I mean, that's something I had in my wedding, and that's what I'd like. You know, I like when I go there, and I know everybody when I'm doing magic are part of the wedding party. Whereas sometimes, especially with evening guests who maybe dress slightly less formal, or not at all formal, I'll go to a venue and I'm like, some people are at the bar and I think they're waiting to go in, and I'm doing magic for them, and I find out that they're not in the wedding party. Yeah, so that's quite nice for me. I mean, that doesn't happen to me a lot now because, you know,
I've taken photos of people which ain't in a wedding.
Have you really? Yeah.
Yeah, I've been taking photos of people and they've been looking at me like weird, and I'm thinking, why are they looking at me weird? Like, this is my job. Surely they come to a wedding, they know they can have a photo taken. And I'm like, you know, we're not in the wedding. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I did not realize, you know what I mean? But, you know.
Yeah. No, so it does happen. So that's what I like about the Courses.
What was that second? For me, next one is Bringaro House. I love Bringaro House. I like the deco inside. I quite like the old sort of... or the old fittings and stuff, and you know, sort of wedding room is lovely. Got a nice big bay window at the front. It's easy again. And I'm picking these venues because they're easy to shoot. I think. Do you know what I mean? They make my job easy, which is lovely. So they got wonderful grounds again, outside and inside. You got that little. I don't know if you ventured down there, have you?
I'm from Bridgend. I lived in Bringaro when I was younger.
Oh, there we are. So you got
a little house, like obviously, like you know,
you got a little park and everything behind that. like
Yeah,
the
like
little
Japanese gardens and stuff.
Yeah. Although last time I was down there, somebody vandalized them, which was a pain in my back.
Oh.
So I didn't really mean to people, but I think they've probably put it back on now. But yeah. Bring Our House, really, really good venue. Again, wedding team is awesome there. And the grounds are lovely inside and out as well. So perfect.
Yeah, but I know I've already told you this, but Bringaro, just for people watching, would have made my top 3. And I wrote a fantastic blog about why Bringaro is such a wonderful place to get married. And they never shared it, and I was really upset about it. So if you're watching from Bringaro and you want like some information, some research about the building and the park and the grounds and why it's so good about wedding, I've got it waiting in the wings. So just give me a ring. Absolutely. My third and final one is Hensel Castle. It's really, really grown on me in the last kind of year and a half, and I mean, it's phenomenal. Like the grounds are beautiful. I mean, the building is spectacular, and I really like the way they do everything. I love the rooms. I love the outside little patio bit, which is kind of protected from the wind and stuff. And I mean, for me, that's brilliant when I'm flicking cards in the air.
Yeah,
that really does help. Yeah, I just love everything about Hensel. So
yeah,
that's
and I think the actual castle itself is crazy, isn't it? It's really beautiful. So my final one is Hensel Castle was there. So I struggled with this one because I wanted to fit as many in as I could.
Yeah.
So it was Hensel Castle. It was Peterstone Court, the same as James went, and Old Walls. Again, for shootability in the 3 of them, I guess you can literally just step outside wherever in these venues, and you've got some lovely grounds, you've got some lovely photo opportunities, and things like this for not just for me. It's like I am picking these because they're making my life easy, I guess, or easier, right? But what I think is really important for bride and grooms to think of is that if you pick a venue that you've got to travel out to the venue to go and have photographs.
Yeah,
that's taking a lot of your day. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of time taken from your wedding. And when I first started, I would literally research and look into taking my bride and grooms off-site to some wonderful places. And some venues, you can do that. There's some really good areas around.
Yeah, it depends on the location, doesn't it, of the venue?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can travel out to, and it doesn't take a lot of time out, but you've got some really spectacular photos. You've got Oxwich Bay as well, which falls into that category. You've got cliffs and stuff around there. Beautiful. Absolutely stunning place, right? But that's really important for bride and grooms, because if you can stay at your venue, that's a lot less time taking photographs, because photographs take a long time. If we can just go in the vicinity of that venue or in the venue itself, then you are taking up less time out of your day to have photographs taken. And I think that's really important for bride and grooms.
And yeah, absolutely. And going back to what we were saying and what James was saying earlier about, those lull periods, you want to be minimizing them. You want things to be concise. You want it to be smooth. You want things to be planned. And you do have to consider, if you're traveling to locations to have photographs, traffic. Like you can't. There could be an accident. I know of couples that have gone 15 miles driven, and they've been on the motorway and stuff. If there's a big accident there, that can put a massive spanner in your works for your day.
Yeah,
that it really does have big implications. So if you're choosing a venue, obviously you've got your own kind of vision and itinerary, but choose a venue where you can do a lot of that stuff either on site or as close to on site as possible, isn't it?
Yeah. So out of them 4, Hensel, Old Walls, Peterstone Court, Oxwich, I'm picking Old Walls because from day one, and this is really important as well for services sometimes, and don't get me wrong, all these venues look after the services, but my oldest, I've been going to Old Walls for years and years and years now, and from day one, they sort of, how can I explain it? Always sort of like bring your food to you first. Which is, it doesn't matter. I mean, technically, it doesn't really matter, but they still see you as a service, so they want you fed and watered just in case you needed after.
Yeah. Oh, that's
To me,
lovely.
is really, really important because it's quite stressful sometimes because all these venues will give you food and most of them, and that's why they're in my top three. Top eight,
Yeah.
is because they look after us as a service. With some venues you go to, they don't, and they don't have to. And don't get me wrong, no one
Yeah.
has to. But these will think, right, you need to be sorted as the photographer because the bride and groom will need you for this section or whatever. If you were still here eating your dinner while everybody else is doing the speeches, you're missing stuff or you wasted the food, But these venues really look after you, and I think that's really important. They don't have to, but they do, and I think that just shows that they're nice venues.
Yeah, and because they know that you being at the places you need to be at the times you need to be there enhances their experience of their wedding at their venue.
Exactly.
And that's what it's about. And it's those fine details with venues, like what James was saying with magicians earlier, like the questions that people ask you. The venues will be the same. The venues, the wedding coordinators will be asking you certain questions. And if it's like, what time do you want to start? And that's it. There's probably cause for concern. So yeah.
And I owe you. I don't work for Old Walls. I don't work for Lechwin Hall, Bringaro House, etc. But they recognise that we are a team. We're delivering a service to that. We're delivering an experience to that bride and groom. So when the bride and groom is the next morning, they think, "Wow, what a day that was!"
Yeah, and it's not just that. It's 6 months down the line when people say, "I remember going to Leslie's wedding. What an incredible day."
Yeah,
and it's those, because ultimately the next day all you've got is those memories of that day, like how how people enjoyed, basically how much people enjoyed your day, and yeah, that's it. I'm waffling a little bit now, but yeah, I feel like we could probably do an extended one of these sometime in the future, and it'd be great maybe to invite some wedding venues on to talk about the types of things they do. So that'd be fun.
Really. Okay, that's our top 3. So we are going live, I believe, in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we will definitely be live.
So these are going to be pre-records, just to have a bit of content on the Facebook page and YouTube, I believe. So we are going to put these up so people can have a little listen, see what the Wedcast is all about. And then we're going to go live in 2 weeks with our first guest, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll keep that a secret for now because it's quite a nice one. But
I'm
we
really
will.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And again, we could be doing this, and it could just be me and you. I might coax my wife to watch it if I make her food. But my mother will probably watch it. My mother's quite a good supporter of me.
Yeah,
so this could be something which is just fun for me and you. People could, even if one person watches in, get something from there, then I'm happy. So
yeah, me too. And again, I'm learning so much. I've learned some things about magic today. Or some areas that I need to consider. Same as last week. And one of the things I learned from last episode, is that I'm going to make sure now there's a form on my booking form, or there's a box on my booking form asking the wedding photographer's name and contact details. So I'm going to make sure from this point onwards that I always get in touch with the wedding photographer and introduce myself prior to it. Because I remember Matthew saying that sometimes in Norway that there's a magician. So I'm learning loads from this. And again, if somebody watches this and they get take away one thing from it, and it helps the wedding day even a little bit, then I would genuinely be amazed. And not amazed. I'd genuinely be delighted. Not amazed.
We'll get better.
Maybe amazed as well.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so that's episode 2 done. We had James Went, and we spoke about our top 3 wedding venues in South Wales. Or South Wales, isn't it?
Yeah, it was South Wales.
Yeah. So yeah, please just have a little listen, like it, share it, do what you like with it. James, it's been a pleasure.
Been a pleasure. Take care.
Weddings, over and out.